Hello again. In this video, we're going to talk about a water movement bug that I had that was pretty nasty, and also have a brief conversation about when near enough is good enough and how to decide how much work to put into bug fixing. So between finishing the previous video where everything was working great and now there's a weird bug that I found in my build. I'll simulate it for you now if you'll do it for me. There it is. It's the wobble bug. I have no idea. It was working, now it's not working, and I've recorded this video a couple of times now, because just now when I went to record it, it wasn't a bug, and everything was working fantastic. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I fixed it, but you can see it's a bug again. So the process that I went through to figure out what was going on has probably taken, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours for me to figure out why on earth my character is doing this. And a couple of things that I found when I was digging through what's been going on, I looked to see, I didn't think it was water straight away. I thought it might have been something to do with the character movement that we tweaked. He seemed to be bouncing between the textures on the grass, and I was thinking, did we put some sort of collision on the grass? And I thought, what did we do in our most previous change? The water. Okay, so I went and looked at the water. The first thing I noticed, that being forgetful, I'd forgotten to switch them to static. So make sure you switch your water to static. Click up in the top right of the inspector. You'll see a checkbox up there, and I've already put them all onto static. I've got 3 waters now, by the way. There's the lake and the creek, and then I added a river here just to get more of a precise river down there. And you might notice I've tidied up around the outsides a little bit, so my line of sight, when the player looks at any point, although we do have a fixed camera, it's not as much of an issue for me. I just wanted to create a full loop so that you can't see off in the distance. And to prepare ourselves for putting in trees, I didn't want to have gigantic mountains that I felt I needed to cover with trees. I want to have everything a little bit lower. So I've tidied up things a little bit, but got myself a big, ugly bug. And so, of course, changed to static. Then that didn't seem to fix it for me. And as I was running around, I put in static, and that it's kind of worse, if anything. I thought, well, you know what, maybe what I need to do is to change my water, so perhaps it's a performance issue. And I went and had a look at the water mode and changed it to simple, which I need to change all of these to simple before it seems to click into place. It clicked. All of them to simple to see, well, maybe it's a performance issue. It doesn't look anywhere near as good, but if it fixes it, then I will be happy. Because you remember, gameplay is king. If people look at a beautiful world, look at that, see? And now he's not getting the jitter. That seems to have fixed it. So this for me, when I fixed it by doing that, I was very happy in one way. It meant that we could now keep playing the build, we can test out enemies, I can show it to people, but it meant I was unhappy with the water because I thought it looked really much better in what we had it just before with the refraction on it. However, there's a principle I'd like to share with you guys at this point in time when making decisions early on in your project, or you know what, this is for any stage in your project, I'd say, and that is to aim for your game, your build, your look, your feature, whatever you're working on, to be 80% good enough. 80% good enough. And I know a lot of you out there are perfectionists, and for me, I spent a couple of hours trying to get everything to work and trying to get the water to work, and then when I figured out what the solution was, I was resistant, saying, no, I want the water to be the way it looks. But particularly in this early stage of development, we don't have time. I can't spend an entire day or 2 or 3 trying to track down what is probably a pretty simple solution. Some of you might know it already. You might say, well, Rick, just click this button and everything will be fantastic. And usually bug solutions are that simple, right? Eventually you find that one little thing that does it for you. But if we've got, say, just to give you a representation, say there's maybe, I don't know, 100 things we need to do in our game. For now, I'll just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll represent it as 10 things. So if we've got 10 things, and to make an actual complete game experience, I need to have those 10 things. I need to be able to, for example, here, I need to be able to hit and kill enemies. And over here, I need to be able to finish the level and have it say, congratulations. Maybe there's something right at the start here. I need to have movement work. So, we've already done that. We're pretty happy with it. As we're going along, if something breaks, or if something's not quite there, or if I look at this particular thing here and say, this could be water. I want the water to really shine. I want it to be amazing. If I spend 3 days trying to solve this problem, then that means this is not getting done, this is not getting done, that's not getting done, that's not getting to where it needs to. So what I recommend as we're going through this process, for you, first of all, look at what are the things that I absolutely need to have in my game. I need to have these things in my game to even have it work, to even have it sensible, to even have it playable. And at the first pass, you might get all of these to 50%, as we've been doing with this combat moment. Like it's not really shippable yet. We wouldn't try to sell this on the Steam store as it is with this type of combat because it's not deep enough. So it might even be 40%, but we'll say if this one here is combat, then maybe it's at 50% of shippable. And at some point, we'll put some more work into it very soon, and then we'll get it to 60%, and then 70%, and then 80%. And what I'd say is 80% is shippable. You can launch your game. And the fallacy, and this is what drives, I think, some people insane, is video games never get to 100% of what it could be. And I know there's some games out there, some of you guys might be playing Zelda, the latest Zelda, and saying, but Zelda's the perfect game, it's 100%. I'm sure if you gave that development team another year, they'd make it even better. So therefore, if we're being absolute and we're not being sporting coaches that say, give me 110%, let's assume that the absolute perfect incarnation of that Zelda game is 100%, saying that if you worked on it for an extra year, you'd make it even better, then by the laws of logic, maybe now it's only 92%. And, they're Nintendo or funded by Nintendo. They've got a lot of time. They've got a lot of brains involved. Maybe they can take longer than you can. But the concept of don't try to get it to 100%, don't be upset if it's not 100%. I think if you get your game to 80%, as I've got down here, then you've done really, really well. You've succeeded. You've done something that a lot of people aren't able to do. Just trying to choose myself a color here. Sorry for distracting you. And a great example that we have right at the moment that I've been able to replicate for you guys is this water is 80% good enough. Don't you think? Looks like water. It's blue. It says don't run here. I get the feeling that I've got a lake I'm running past. It's 80% good enough. The water where I have refraction, maybe it's 85% or 90%, or maybe it's 100% good enough as far as water goes. I might look at that and say, that is exactly the water I want. But if it breaks my movement, then I just can't have it in my game, and that's fine. You will have tons and tons of decisions like that, and a lot of moments where you say, I just have to do near enough is good enough. So I have a challenge for you, and this is something that we didn't talk about when we were putting in our water, which is actually to tune the water how you want it, and then to test it. My point here is to test your game, to play through the whole way, to kill all of the enemies, to have all of the combat, and to make sure that nothing that we've been introducing over the past 4 or 5 or 6 lectures has accidentally broken something. So we haven't been too diligent about reminding you of that, and I haven't been doing that a huge amount in the last little while, but I'm going to do that now off screen. You guys don't need to watch me do that because I might cry if I find something else wrong. But for now, I want you to jump in, test your game flow through. If you find any issues, go through the process of bug fixing that we talked about, turn things on, turn things off. And if you need to make some compromises, then aim for 80%, be happy with that, and push on with the rest of your game. If you finish it, then you can circle back and work on it again. So if we get to the point where we've got everything in our game, I might come back and see if I can get water looking even better. So that's all for this video. Good luck with that challenge, and I will see you in the next video.